UMBANDÉ fratres throughout the globe. This is the live that we mentioned you yesterday that we will do in English, and in our previous live in previous Monday we mentioned you that we will do a live concerning how we literally learn to drive through our faults and mistakes in the city traffic, in our trips, as a professionals, as an outdoor runner for packages or for companies, with our underbone cab, as a delivery guy in various restaurants, coffee shops, or pizzerias. Just a second, because yesterday the live was interrupted by trouble that our cat had, and since yesterday we are almost without any sleep. We are taking care of her. She's limping. I don't know why some people that saw us that live reported us. I don't know why we filed back a mention to the YouTube, because they heard our cat crying. Because they heard our cat crying, they thought, I don't know what. You do a live, our cat was crying, she was telling us, she was limping, and we immediately ended the live. We went to our veterinary, Mr. Stikos. You will see a video in our channel for if you visit Athens, particularly Greece, if you want to have a visit with your pet. This is a veterinary we all choose to go, most of us. And till now, she's limping, she's hurting, and we watch her. As you can see, my face is literally without any sleep. Okay, what we can do? Let's go to our life and tell you what things shaped me as a rider. Okay, this was a small introduction of what happened yesterday and why we did not, at the end, do the live in English language. After we arrived back here with our cat, we were very frustrated and tired to do the live in English. We caught a breath, and we did it eventually in Greek. So today in English, because the things we have to say, it's a little bit, let's say, cruel for me that I've lived, but for you it would be good lessons to hear it and avoid the stupidity of others and your own non-experience, as I had in two wheels. So let's begin. UMBANDÉ fratres throughout the globe. Good morning to everyone. Welcome to the broadcast. Do not adjust your volume, turn it up, get comfortable, and hit that share button right now. Today we are pulling back, as I said, the curtain on the absolute surviving on two wheels. You will hear things about Greece. I don't know where are you watching us from. Please mention in the chat if you have ever witnessed lived or heard something similar in your country, like the examples and the true facts, the experience we had. This will be not a typical video. This will be my truth, my survival, and I'm breaking down 8 specific personal experiences, 2 examples that one of them also happened to me from other riders, really common for our country. And if you will watch it as a replay later, stick around because every single one of these stories comes with truly a hard-hitting technical lesson that could save your life on the asphalt. So either you ride a max displacement adventure bike or a sport bike, a naked bike, super sport bike. We had them all. I owned them. And with all of them, I had some, let's say, experiences, hard experiences to avoid. Or even a scooter, a small displacement of 125 cubics, other bone cab. So, let's start. This channel was created for one specific reason: to communicate with you safety measures, to be able to contact with people, certain rules of engagement with the motorcyclist world, and to all be a big family with specific rules that we can enjoy all riding together, respecting each other freedom and boundaries they have. Also, besides the rider solidarity, to make sure that the foolish, reckless drivers out there in the common life, our daily use bikes in the roads, in the streets, are completely erased and forgotten from the history. So, my first accident. My first accident happened, as I said yesterday, borrowing for a short ride after begging him, my my friend Angelos. He had the Super Cab 72, I think, or 90cc underbone cab. Here in Greece and generally in the world, you will know that Honda, the company Honda, went viral and public, well known with its cab and super cab, the other bone projects models they made. So even today, this type of bikes, the Greece community of riders, we have cherished them, and the market is flooded with other bone cabs from 50 to 185 nowadays. Then in the 90s and 2000, the trend was 72cc, 90cc. So I borrowed it and went for a short ride, not knowing, without any experience, I was riding exactly behind the car when it suddenly slammed on its brakes. And what a, it's a life, okay. So I was behind the car exactly. He slammed on its brakes. I stopped too, but I was way too close. I locked up the rear brake. The bike lost traction and fishtailed, and my leg ended up getting smashed against the car's old bumper. It wasn't one of those modern bumpers, plastic. It was an old car with a solid iron alloy bumper. The driver was terrified. He rushed out, came to me back, and had to physically free my leg from the bumper, where it had been completely wedged and crushed into the bumper, my leg. It was a bizarre feeling. The man looked like an alien. The incident, my leg, I looked my leg and I couldn't believe it. I didn't have a scratch, even a little minor swell. I don't know, because of my young age, the muscles and the structure of the bones were in the zenith of my body. I don't know why. I passed it harmless, but I had a crash, a really dangerous crash. It could have broken. It could have smashed in pieces. I was lucky, guys. Maybe the young of the age and the structure of my body and bones, as I said, because of my young age, I was lucky. So, what we can learn from that, being exactly behind the car leaves you with zero reaction time. When riding, you always want to maintain at least, the book says, 2 second gap for reaction. I translated that at least 10 meters, and more in the wet and heavy traffic. And position yourself slightly to the left or to the right of the car's center. This gives you an escape route to swerve into the lane split or shoulder instead of becoming the meat in a sandwich. Okay? Because my leg was like a sandwich. The bike was, this is a car. I was right behind. The bike, the underbone cab did this, and I was in the middle. I was in the middle, and all this function was absorbed by my leg here. Okay. The trap of the rear brake, our second lesson from this accident. The panic brake. Stopping on the rear brake out of panic is the most common mistake riders make, because weight transfers to the front wheel when a vehicle decelerates. The rear wheel loses traction very easily. This is exactly why the bike fishtailed. Kolya, we say it here in Greek. Learning to rely heavily on the front brake for stopping power and modulating the rear brake gently is what keeps the bike stable and you free of troubles. we have to mention that I was riding another bone cab, and all these structures made bikes, they don't have big reality, reliability and safety. Even now that they have disc brakes also in front and also in the back, and also with CBS and also with ABS. Uh, they are very light, let's say, and basic construction of a two-wheel bike. A two-wheel ride is for beginners, and most of my accidents happened with this kind of bikes because literally they don't have the safety that a big bike has. What we mentioned of how you will use your rear and front brake essentially has place in real life in bikes, in big bikes. But you can also try it in a smaller scale with lower your, let's say, newtons of power in the handles of the foot for the rear brake and in the right hand for the front brake in underbone bikes. Let's continue. This was so long to explain. I didn't know that the target fixation, and I learned it in later time. The target fixation and bike position. When the bike fish-tailed, it spun sideways, which is how my leg ended up taking the impact against the bumper, instead of the front tire absorbing all this power with the brakes. We told before how you use it, front and a little bit rear. In a panic situation, we tend to look directly at the danger, for me specifically the bumper, and the bike follows your eyes, our eyes. It's like the lessons we take for the exit of the corners or entering the right line to enter a corner. The bike goes where you see, even in accidents, and it's called target fixation. So you must do in open and not heavily traffic with no vehicles around you, park stations, as I did, besides the lessons to get your license, and before even get to a special school that most bikers go and do extra lessons for safety measures and safety riding and cornering, and maybe then go to a track. Besides all this life of a motorcyclist and experience, go to a parking lot open without many vehicles around you and learn what we first did with our car, how not to stall. So, what do I mean? Learn how to roll your bike just with your lever clutch, with the first gear, and then leave it. Leave it to roll without any gas on your right hand. Leave it. And then mark an area with your mind or with a pencil, with how we say in the blackboard, you understand, with a chalk. Eh? I think it's the right word in English. With a choke, don't destroy the pavement, the asphalt in the parking lot. A straight line and try to follow it with slow speed. Then parallel that line, try to accelerate your bike and see how it accelerates. And always accelerate more and more and more and more and more. And then, as you accelerate, try to stop your bike. Mark where you stopped and try then to stop your bike in a shorter distance and in a shorter distance and in a shorter distance. And then you will find yourself that you can brake really, really, really fine with your bike, even in panic brakes, as we mentioned before. This is, let's say, the beginner's lessons that you must do with every bike, you motorbike, motorcycle bike, you ride and you buy every single time to learn your bike. And most of all, ride your bikes into the traffic, into the craziness of everyday use. Because all this that I have mentioned in real time, in real life, happens daily to a motorcyclist. We will continue with other examples in our video. So, and for last, only by one accident I had all these lessons. Even for a cab, for another bone cab, even if you're riding such a small displacement, gear matters. Getting a foot wedged into a solid iron alloy bumper is nightmare material. I was incredibly lucky, as I said, not to break any bones, but it's a brutal reminder of why sturdy footwear like riding boots or heavy leather boots or a very firm leather boot. Let's say I have Clarks. For my riding boot, I have Clarks. It has a wooden middle sole and a very sturdy rubber sticky outsole with very good material of leather. Sorry, it's not an advertisement, but Clarks, you know the company Clarks. If you don't know it, Google it. The company Clarks is a middle range and in quality and in prices. In quality, I would say it's above average. That manufacture boots, and it serves a really good biking boot, you will say, but it has no protection in the heel or in the ankle. Many boots, motorcycle boots in this range of price, don't even have. They are structured like my Clarks. What you pay, you get it. We said it in other videos, in the video past. What you pay, you get. And the previous slide, in previous Monday, which is in Greek, we do an introduction in English, we continue in Greek, we translate it, and it's already with subs, with checked English subs and with automated Spanish and other languages subs. So we described the classic welcome to two wheels, a moment that taught you respect for braking zones. As we said, we have to maintain a distance for at least 2 seconds reaction, let's say 10 meters. Okay, you also have to check out your mirrors always, what happens behind you. And let's move on. Okay, never straight in the center and back of a vehicle. always a little slightly right or to left from the vehicle. So let's continue. And the second accident, again with a borrowed underbone cab, that I thought that it was 90cc as my friend Angelos. This is really disturbing even for me, because I'm talking for brutal examples for myself. It's not uh, easy to remind to me all this pain. My first accident, I didn't felt any pain. The second, it's really brutal, and let's meet the raw truth. So, my second accident, I was riding, as I said, a French underbone cab, but he had secretly outly boarded out. It was heavily tuned, pushing somewhere for from what I've heard, what I remember, and what I felt. Charging my opinion from nowadays displacement. It should have gone up to 175, 250. I had no idea how aggressive the throttle response would be. I pinned the throttle wide open, exactly as I would have done on a standard cab of 70 or 90cc. And because of the heavily modifications and aftermarket parts the bike had, dumped a massive amount of instant torque. And of course, I panicked, and the handlebars violently snapped sideways. And I went down hard because I didn't leave the handlebars, and I was, let's say, whiskey throttle. My entire body slid down the asphalt, right on top of my left arm. The sheer pressure and friction literally ripped my shoulder out on its out of out of its socket, and my shoulder it was completely dislocated. My arm was bound tight for 45 days. I've always been incredibly clear-headed and calm under intense stress. So, despite the the terrible and blinding pain, I never blacked out. Ever since that day, it has been a massive struggle for me. The ligaments in my shoulder became so loose that I turned into Mel Gibson in Lethal Weapon and put it on my own in its place. Eventually, because I had in the time I went and did my surgery, my shoulder had eventually dislocated 5 times in all 5 directions. The the most the first was the most with the most agony. The first one, the doctor couldn't put it back. He did it with his foot. He put his foot here and did it. And the last one that I did it like Mel Gibson, it was dislocated in my ribs from here. You may know it as the disease of spear, of the one that used the spear, even in ancient times, or the shields, even in ancient times, or in modern times, that they throw the spear in the games, in the Olympic Games. They have the same thing like me. They can, from the overpower, they can dislocate their shoulder. I didn't know that. the doctor said to me that we went to do the surgery, that in the ancient times they did the exactly same thing that we will do. We will anchor your shoulder, we will rip off everything it has, we will anchor it. So I can't do anything more than this angle. This is what they did to hold the shield in the fights in the ancient times. You see how my right it has this angle. Let's say this one goes right here. It doesn't open more. This is the bad examples. I laugh, but then I pain. I had a lot of pain and stress because with all this and this major surgery that I had with surgical anchors, just to be able to lift weights with my left arm again by the time I was 28, my dear brother and sorrow throughout the globe. What I'll never forget is, besides all that, and that's why we broadcast from Greece, to see the mentality of, let's say, some of Greek people, that I ride my own little scooter to work on medical leave with my arm still completely bound up, all because the manager at the shop I was working at the time, I worked at, was an absolute star of human being. We are in Greece, and he asked me to go to the work. Of course, when my colleagues saw me, they throw me away of the store. They couldn't believe that I went to the work like that. What can I say? We broadcast live from Greece. This is what happens in Greece. Now, what do we learn from that? Never treat an unknown bike like your own or a previous one that you've owned or tried out. Even if a bike looks identical, this was not an underbone cab normal, this was a sleeper, a big sleeper. Even if a bike looks identical to something you've ridden before, aftermarket modifications, boring out the engine, changing the sprockets, or modifying the throttle tube completely alter its DNA. You always test the throttle progressively first. You've seen me in my test rides how I treat the bikes really gently, really smooth changing of the gears, never going up from 70 kilometers. Always treat them with respect. And from this day on, I never give my bike to another person. Never. I never give my bike to another person. I never take the bike from another person. I never do that. I never. Only on my test rides that I close the appointments, and you saw them in my previous videos. Of course, you will be companion with other riders. You want to see how it handles. Let's take it for a mile. Come ride together. Sorry, I don't do that. You may do it, but I advise you not to do. Only if something like that happens to you, you can understand why I don't do it. You may do it. You may be brighter, You may be more cautious from me, I don't know, but the trouble waits in the corner. If you do it really gentle, the throttle, and treat it with respect. And what I said, whiskey throttle. In the panic, right, you snap on the handlebars. A very common mistake. When the bike suddenly pulled harder than expected, what I did, my instinct told me to hold on tight on the handlebars. And this, of course, what causes the other riders and me in the certain accident to do, to grab and pull the throttle more harder, the whiskey throttle effect, or tense up their arms, okay, which induces high speed instability and makes the handlebars snap or tongue slap. So, again, we will talk about gear, the use of gear. After two incidents, another incident which we should have gear. Okay, and if I used a gear, maybe I wouldn't have this this accident that followed me for a long term of my life till my 28 years old. But what we can say, I just wanted a small ride like my previous friend in the neighborhood, with its bike. Have you heard it before? Has it happened to you? That little big mistakes. So always at least shoulder, okay, armor, okay, sliding down the asphalt with the weight of your body, pressing your arm into the road is a textbook scenario for joint and skin distraction. I was pretty lucky to dislocate my shoulder. I could have dislocated my hip. I could have dislocated my knee, my ankle. Let's praise the dislocation. In irony, I say this. You have to be really cautious in the roads, in the streets. And when you are young, you are more careless. And you pay things with your integrity, your body integrity. And let's not talk about what more you can pay. We are still here, but our experiences were paid with pain in this incident. So at least shoulder and elbow slider protectors, at least with your jacket. It's non-negotiable if you are moving at speeds. And the reality of recovery, as we said, a single second of panic can result in a lifetime of maintenance, physical, of course, surgeries, anchors, rehabilitation. From this one, I got three lumbar disc herniation. Yes, we got three lumbar disc herniations. Why? Because till our 28 years old, this hand couldn't lift any weights. In our job, we lift the weights, okay, the boxes, okay, 20, 30, 40, 50 kilos packages like a waiter, like that. What happened to our body? Three, three slip discs. The one comes with another trouble. The one trouble follows the other. What they say, the wrong choices have a long tail that follows you in your life, something like that. I don't know. This is my worst choice I've ever made. So never take a foreigner bike, never treat it like your own, always the throttle with respect to eventually know with even your own. It's uh, it's it's an unknown bike. Even a new bike that you own and you buy, it's an unknown bike for you. You have to do what we mentioned before. Go to a parking lot, test it in the daily use, eventually to learn how to control it. We said it already in previous videos in Friday that we test ride the CB650R, and I think we've uploaded a short. The whiskey throttle that you grab on the handlebar, okay. And from my example, from my incident, how this affected me for over a decade and more. The third accident, we keep on going. This was with the CBR 600cc. My dear mother, she works in a rehabilitation hospital for disabled patients. The irony, right? And in there, imagine that the 70% of people admitted were from motorcycle accidents, while the other 30% being from car crashes or workplace injuries. The pure irony from that is that in 90s and 2000, even till today, the suburbs in Greece, even in Athens, especially outside Attica, they don't have any regular public transportation. And when we talk regular in the 90s, we talk that my mother, it was like now we are doing the live. It was summer. In summer, in Greece, in the suburbs of the Attica region, regular transportation, forget it. Forget it. She was standing in the in the bus station for over an hour. She came back to the house frustrated, and I used my bike to take her to the hospital. So, what's the irony of all this? When I was exiting the hospital, that I left my mother to do her shift, there was just a small spot of dry oil. Okay, a dried up patch of oil. The moment I was with 5 kilometers rolling, rolling down the road peacefully. When in the moment I barely touched the front brake, the front wheel completely was out because the bike was low with low clearance. I managed to catch its entire weight against my body, but it spun 180 degrees as I strained my entire body to keep it upright. I snapped straight up, and the scorching hot exhaust pipe pressed directly against my car. I still have the mark because the pipe in a 2090s CBR was pure steel, and the hot metal of the exhaust peeled off my first, second, third skin. And I saw how my flesh looks like without skin. What we can say. I yanked my leg away. As we said, the layers of the skin were completely gone. I could literally see the raw flesh. I had rushed out of the house wearing shorts because it was summer. And as I said, my mother had already been waiting at the bus stop for an hour. She had come back home completely, as I said, stressed out, and I put on something really casual, rushing to get her to her job. The irony, the happiness in this situation is that I pulled the bike on the side of the road, on the center stand, gone inside my mother's hospital. They take care of me. In a month, 2 months, it was not completely treated. It had done, let's say, how you say this surface, this hard surface. It, I have put myself through first, second degree. How you say burn? If it's the worst is second or first, the worst. I could see my flesh. There was no skin. Yeah. So what we can learn from this incident? I know it's a really heavy, hard life, but someone has to tell you what he's been through. And most of the riders, it's not me, but it's not really, heartwarming to communicate this with you. But we have to be the examples that you must not do. So, the danger of the low speed confident, let's say, accidents don't just happen where you are pinged at 100 kilometers or 300 kilometers or even 50, above 50, let's say. A tiny patch at oil, like my accident at 5 kilometers per hour, can take a bike down instantly. Low speed means you lack the gyroscopic stability that keeps the bike upright, making it incredibly easy for the front end to lag. What do you do in the situations you spot an oil? If you don't see it and you cannot outrunning by the side like this or like this, I don't know, in a high speed, let's say, case or in a heavy traffic case that you have a certain line with cars beside you, if you must overrun it without any brake, without any tense in the handlebars, and without any tense in your roll. Don't outrun it, don't go through this patch of oil and push the throttle. Don't push your brake levers. Okay, that's the way. That nothing should happen. And always remember that even if you pass it, patch of oil, dirt, water, all this remains to your rear and front tires. And they want a period of time rolling your wheels, and if you are lucky, removing them. The oil, you must be real cautious because it's no dirt or rain. Okay, this is the one that you can learn from this incident. The other is, as we said again, the no gear trap. And why we say no gear trap? Because shorts and exhausts and even pavements, the asphalt, I could be in the situation that I described before. Okay, in sliding the road with short, I would have burned my entire leg and body. We have seen pictures like that. Okay, never shorts. And what is the trap that I have fallen? My anxious mom to catch up her shift. Okay, and imagine that I had gear because when I bought not the CBR, another bike, I have spent at least to nowadays money at least $2,000 for equipment, for protective equipment. I had gear, but I said, okay, it's a mile. Let's go. She's in a hurry. Let's get her to her shift in time. How we say, okay, let's go to get some from the grocery. As we said before, the danger, the instant mistake waits you in the corner. Always with long pants, always with long pants, and all the gear all the time. Most of the gear you can have all the time. It only takes a split of second. Why? For a quick favor or a short distance. Completely left my skin defenseless against engine heat and mental. I will add also the asphalt. And the irony of the environment. This happened to me outside a rehabilitation center hospital for disabled people. Moving to my fourth accident. I don't know what to do, to smile, to get thrilled that I am still standing, to show you my scars, to brag about them, to laugh that I am still standing. The things are really serious because from my incidents and my accidents, other guys, you know what happened. They are not amongst us. We are really sorry for them. And other guys, they are disabled permanently, not until my 20 years old that I could lift weighs in my left arm permanently. Guys, this is a bike where we are talking, and we'll go to examples for the professionals also, the couriers, the delivery guys, the guys that work per volume and not per hour, the guys that load their trucks, not only for my motorcycling community, also for the professional in trucks. The companies load the trucks twice as they can handle, or 3 times and 4 times as they can handle in volume and in weight. Here in Greece, I don't know about your countries, it's a completely mess and craziness in this area and field of work. Please mention or subscribe and mention if anything of this that we are talking about is happening to your country. And our live is on, we are on, and we are keep on going. So the fourth accident, this is also very serious. How am I still standing and talking to you? It's not a miracle. Now I was wearing my gear, not something special. In the 90s and 2000, the Yamaha official stores that you could buy their equipment here in Greece, they have introduced a label, a trademark of helmets called Big White D. No, this is a car, I think. Big White T something. It was a jet helmet with the 2 stripes along the side of the helmet and the 8 ball, the black 8 ball. It was painted like my little sweet beetle bag. You remember the old movie? The helmet was painted in these colors with the 8 ball, the black ball of the pool. So I have purchased that helmet. Imagine that it was already in displacement in the store, because I've checked it out of the numbers, the batches the helmet had for 2 years, and it costed then. We are talking 25 years ago, 30, 150 euros. And I've bought it with 75 euros, 50% off. A cheap helmet, a cheap, stylish helmet. You can find nowadays a cheap, stylish helmet. But even though, you'll understand why I'm saying that. So, in a Saturday morning, I had purchased because I wanted to have daily use, and my CBR 600 had broken down. I ate it. I am a metal eater, and purchased for daily use for my work Honda Innova 125cc underbone cab made from Indonesia. Honda and the production line were in Indonesia. Okay, they have outsourced the production line to an Indonesian factory. So Saturday morning, and I was on my way to work. I was entering a 2-lane left turn that had already cars parked along the side of the road. It's really common in Greece and especially in Attica. Illegally parked cars are absolutely everywhere in the side of the roads. Please be aware. If you come here and you are riding amongst us in the Attica region, they can open suddenly their doors. The 3-lane avenues becomes 2-lane. The 2-lane becomes 1 lane because in the side of the roads the cars are illegally parked, and of course nowadays in 2026 official authorities have gone mad ticketing motorbikers and motorcyclists, and cars leave them aside. They illegally the cars parked, they leave them aside, especially if you see big blocks of multinational companies that the roads are filled with their cars, with their company cars, not only parked, double parked. I know areas that I was seeing them and they did not absolutely nothing, and they do not do absolutely nothing. Do you know why? We do not have park areas. The Greece does not have the facilities even now to address to all this volume of cars. Nowadays, a single family has 5 members. We have already mentioned in another video 5 cars. So let's continue to our example and incident I had. Saturday morning, and I was on my way to work. I was entering a 2-lane left turn that had cars parked along the side of the road. This is a common thing for Greece. Mention if this is also a common thing for the country you are, and if it's not, let us know here, the Greeks, how your authorities would comply with this incident. And a guy took it a step further. He had double parked a grey BMW sedan right in the blind spot of the turn, right next to the already illegally parked cars. And you can understand what happened. I was already taking the corner in the the right side of the of the road, the first lane from the right side of the road, and in the blind spot in the apex, the curve in the blind apex of the turn. I saw in front of me, like I'm watching you, a car. Another pose here. Whenever you see this type of cars in Greece, BMWs with tinted glass, with tinted, glasses, Mercedes in Greece, keep your eyes peeled. They are usually driven by people who aren't exactly operating a high intellectual level. So I hit a panic brake. I was launched like a bullet. I was wearing, as I said to you, an open face helmet. Uh, the helmet have already completed its life. It was already in the store for 2 years. I've owned it already for 3 years. So a completely cycle of life for a simple helmet, 5 years, and I flew straight into the trunk of that double parked BMW like a missile. I ended up dropping onto the asphalt flat on my back like a bunch of crushed grapes, with the bike wedged tight underneath the rear of the car. The pain in my back and neck was absolutely terrifying and devastating for me. The owner of the car was inside a nearby shop. He rushed out terrified, not because he actually cared about my well being, but because he was losing his mind over the legal consequences he would face from the police. Like I said, pray, pray you never cross your paths with an animal like that, with a driver like that. While everyone else on the street stopped and started screaming insults at the driver, the sheer adrenaline and shock forced me to my feet. Uh, Even though I could literally feel that my neck was heavily compressed, I picked up the bike without saying a single word to him and rode it 200 meters down the road straight to a Honda dealership. No police, no paperwork, nothing. From there, I hailed a taxi and went straight to CAT hospital that all the daily crashes with motorbikes and cars goes. This is how we call it CAT, which is where all the major traffic accident victims in Athens and the doctors looked at me like I was an alien, describing what had happened. The port bagage of the car went inside from my head with the helmet. Let's say a depth of that. Yes. So the doctors looked at me like I was an alien. When I said to them what it really happened, once again, I hadn't broken a single bone, nor was I paralyzed. However, due to the severe compression of my neck and spine from that impact, I've been looking since then for the 3 centimeters that have vanished from my height ever since. My body was covered in pink and purple bruises. I had to wear a neck brace for about a month, and I was ordered to strict bed rest for 15 days. Unbelievable, right? It wasn't my fault this time. It wasn't my fault. I did nothing wrong. So tell me, to your countries, the drivers, do they have this mentality? Do you treat other fellow citizens like that? Double parking your cars or vehicles in the apex of a corner, in the blind spot. So, what do we learn from this? Hmm? I forgot to mention you. Again, how the employer treated me. I said to you what they did to me with a dislocated shoulder, driving like that in my scooter, my Gilera I had at the time, going to my work. I didn't say that. I forget to mention it. When I dislocated my shoulder, one of these 5 times, my manager forced me to go to the job with a dislocated shoulder. I couldn't even bathe myself. What you can say? The worst thing is to, when someone is taking advantage the need of you to work and have some income and take it advantage with any kind of mean they can. I literally can't understand it. Even in this situation, when I was in hospital, from nowhere, a colleague of mine appeared in the hospital. Now that I know the laws, because then I was really stressed from the accident, guys, and in agony from pain. Imagine that I had long bruises, swelling with black, killed blood inside, and they were taking it off with syringes, the doctors. What can I say? But in this accident, they were strapped my hand with that. No broken bones, no paralyzed whatsoever. We have, I think, when we say something bad, we hit a wooden surface. Do you have it in your country? But bruises all around, 3 lost centimeters from the collision, somewhere here in my spine. And what I mentioned, they have sent a colleague of mine to check out if I was telling the truth, because when you are in the route for your job or returning from your job, if anything happens to you as an accident, they consider it, the law, the authorities, as an injury in working hour. I didn't know that. And I thought that they cared and they sent a colleague to check out if I was fine. They were checking out if I was telling the truth. I'm broadcasting from Greece. Do you have this kind of mentality amongst your citizens from the countries you are seeing us? We call it here in Greece kutoponirya, or in direct, let's say, we have the net. Κουτοπονηριά στα αγγλικά. To understand, to learn you some English. Κουτοπονηριά στα αγγλικά. Craftiness, foxy behavior. Foxes are really intelligent, kind animals. Craftiness. We will go with craftiness. Yes. Low-minded craftiness. Not cunning. No. Yes. Hypocrisy. Yeah. Hypocrisy. Yes. Guile. Yes. Chicanery. Yes. Chicanery, yes. Chicanery, hypocrisy, guile. Yes. This kind of mentality. I thought they were cared. I thought that they concerned about me, of what happened, because I called them. I informed them. I knew I couldn't show up to my work. What can I say? And this is not the end of how an employer or a like-minded people treat their employees riding a bike or a motorcycle. You will see to the other examples I have. So, what do we learn from this incident? The blind spots and the double parking. This is a classic urban riding nightmare. Entering a corner means your line of sight is restricted. If someone double parks in the blind spot, your stopping distance is instantly cut into zero. It teaches riders to approach urban corners with extreme caution, assuming there's a stationary wall waiting around the bend. Or sometimes we will discuss later waiting, fragment, and side pavements holes from companies. All Attica region is full of bumps and holes from companies that they did put cables for internet, cables for I don't know whatever company, pipes for gas, for water. Our roads eventually inside this big city called Athens, they are all full of bumps and holes. This is the kanonas, the rule. The exception is not to have bumps and holes, but the rule is to have bumps and holes. So let's continue. Zero response time when you are turning a corner. If someone double parks. Nowadays, now we are talking, they are already parked in the side of the roads. Already. Nothing happens. Nothing happens. We are not talking about your local alley road. We are talking about main intersection roads from Piraeus Port to the Kifisia. I don't know. They only ticketing bikes and motorcycles. We are the problem. We that will consume less CO2 from cars, less volume, square meters in the road than cars, less weight pushing down the asphalt, destroying her than cars or heavy vehicles. We will talk later for this. The limitation of open-face jet helmets. Flying headfirst into a car trunk with a jet helmet is incredibly risky. I was very lucky that my jaw and face didn't take the impact against the metal trunk, and only this. But my neck and my spine were compressed, and even with a chip with end of life cycle material, I was already had it 3 years and 2 years in the dealership. 5 years helmet, a 5 years cheap helmet saved my life. I don't tell you to go buy a 5 years cheap helmet, but it's better than no helmet. Buy a helmet. Eleos, Asynekes for Eleos. My God grace. We have, I don't know, I don't know why this mentality exists in Greece. Tell me about your country. You would say, you are kidding. In the first two accidents, you were completely naked without gear. Okay, besides the young ages that they are completely reckless. I didn't know. I didn't know. I am still a lone rider. That's why I created this channel. Okay, to tell you my experiences and avoid my mistakes and how I learned the hard way with blood and bruises to ride and what mistakes to avoid in the streets. I am a lone rider. I never was in a club, a motorcycle club that I would advise you to join. I never had a fellow rider as a companion. That's why I advise you to join us in the Facebook called UMBANDÉ Cultural Wheels. You will find us. There is in the description also the link of the channel. I was never part of groups and touring groups. I am a lone wolf, a lone rider. I was and I am. And I learned the hard way. This is not the time to learn with the hard way. That's why I'm here to tell you the raw truth. So, really lucky with the jet chip helmet. And from then on, I always use full face helmet. The only true protection against hard structural impacts. A full face helmet. And of course, the spine compression and adrenaline masking. I didn't know that there was an adrenaline masking when you hit, when you injure yourself. Have you seen in the picture movies action that someone is got is with a bullet and running and walking, something like that? I got up from the adrenaline. I was down for 5 minutes on the ground. When I understood that I can move all my legs and hands, I was trying to feel what it was happening with my head. I was afraid to take off the helmet. That's another, oh my God, from this impact. And I tried to take off the helmet. This should not happen to any circumstance. Always you have to wait the paramedics to get there. They should hand me a collar on a special chair or bed and take off the helmet. I stood up, went inside the store, look at myself in the mirror if I was okay, if I was bleeding from somewhere, if a bone was fractured, nothing. I did a little bit of that with a helmet, searching for my head if had opened. Yes, I, I am laughing, but then it was terrifying for me. I put my helmet and went away. The adrenaline masking, walking away, moving the bike and rejecting immediate emergency services is a classic symptom of severe shock. Your body shuts down the pain signals temporarily, which can hide life-threatening spinal or internal injuries. I was really lucky. Even my friend Spiros, he was a driver in emergency ambulances till now. He said to me, "Where are you going? Wait for the ambulance." Are you crazy? I was, I was lying. I was lying on the pavement, and I called him and told him what happened, and said to him, "I am moving my hands and legs." Crazy, guys, crazy. The people around me insulting the driver that had double parked. One of them, they were going literally to tear him apart. It was crazy. Imagine what happened to me. Imagine that you see a fellow citizen on his bike, turning a corner and ending up straight ahead on a double parked car. And the man came out not concerned about me. First, he looked his trunk, his porte-bagages that went inside something like that. All the head bending down his trunk. My structure is pretty well, I think. So, this is what we learned from this incident. Let's move on. The fifth accident. The fifth accident again with my pre-owned Honda Innova 125. This is a light. It's light because eventually, after all this that happened to me, I had an experience paid by dislocated shoulders, by lost and from spine and neck operation 3 centimeters of my height, a foot. I lost a foot height. That's why I say if someone can get the collars for the neck, for it's perfect from stretching or depressing your neck. Not only the helmet, it's okay. Not only the helmet. So again, with my Honda Innova 125cc, I was returning from my job in the night. I didn't do something wrong. I just ride another bone bike, and as we said, the safety measures of this kind of bikes are literally joke, and you will understand why. It started raining, and here in Greece we have a drainage problem, and as we said, the quality of our asphalt is rubbish, and especially in the area that I mentioned in Peristeri. God forbids, near Hondo Center, God forbids, they have an alley park beside the road, always with the dust and dirt the road, with oils, because a little bit further there are dealerships of Yamaha, my saddle maker, yes, which I go and to tapezeries that foam up my saddles. Several stores that have dirt, tire shops, craziness, the craziness of the Greek roads. And when it starts rains there, it creates a film of dirt and oils. So what happened? It turned instantly into glass, the asphalt, the roads. As we said, the asphalt quality is miserable in many places, and of course, there is zero drainage. The rain mixes with the oil and dust, and Do you remember the slime from the Ghostbusters? It creates a film of slime on the road when I hit the brakes to stop the bike because we had in our in front of us a red light. The bike just starting to dropping off. So what I did, I completely stayed calm, and it's that exact moment where everything suddenly feels normal to me. In a stress situation, I intentionally let the bike progressively slide out into the oncoming lane. And after first aiming it in that direction so the oncoming cars would see it and stop, I followed right behind the bike, sliding on my back like that, like a turtle. I hunched over like a turtle, completely riding out the slide on my back while wearing my soft shell jacket. And I actually still have it, that jacket till today, and it doesn't have a single scratch on it. The North Face, guaranteed. Soft shell. So, what's the keys from this accident that we should take? What's the lessons, my dear audience? The trap of the first rain for the first few minutes, and the film that creates on the surface of the asphalt. This one is one of the most critical lessons for urban riders, the most dangerous, and travelers. The most dangerous time to ride isn't during a downpour, it's during a light drizzle on the first 10 minutes of the rain. Weeks of engine oil and rubber dust and dirt sit on the asphalt, and a small amount of water turns all this into a little soapy, greasy film. And of course, the Athens roads, that street friction coefficients vary widely by country and city. European cities like Athens has smooth polished asphalt that offers practically zero grip when wet. Riders must know that if you come here visiting us, living here, you must be cautious and double or triple their braking zones. The second moisture hits the air. True, true fact. And of course, if you have, if in these situations you don't know how to act, it's a matter of seconds, decisions. You have to be stressful and calm, arching your back and tucking your limbs in a turtle position during a slide is exactly how you protect your collarbones, hands, and head from snapping against the ground. I have learned the hard way. Your instinct must manage the slide rather than fighting in midair and prevent you from blunt force trauma. Okay, and of course, the quality of gear. I didn't have a special bike jacket. I had a really good quality soft shell, the North Face jacket. This is not an advertisement. I've worked over 15 years in this company, and I knew which garments and jackets to comply with, let's say, equal jackets of motorcycle industry. After all, the same amount of money that you will purchase in jackets or insulation garments by a motorcycle brand, with the same money you can buy above average and in the top end high quality uh, mid layers, soft shells, sockets, gloves as a bike equipment. You must know it's a trick. I never purchased base layers or thermal equipment or gloves or socks, not sockets, sorry, or socks from a motorcycle company. I always purchased from outdoor companies. One of my latest gloves were from Pardon. You know the snowboard, so you don't think that I mention only the North Face from Barton. It was well equipped with carbon fiber for my notes here, and it was pretty much cheaper and with better qualities in materials than a motorcycle glove. You can search it, Google it. You don't have to believe me. Just hear what I'm saying and then search. Now, again, a critical not accident, near miss accident, and let's say how the mentality in Greece tends to take advantage the need to make money to live, and I'm referring to my fellow couriers and all the people that work in places, restaurants, pizzas, cafeterias, companies that are on a bike all day. You will understand what I'm saying. So I did a similar job. Okay. And the severe accidents not always happen with large displacement, super sport bikes in high speeds, as we are often used to see or hear. They are also come, as you saw, with another bone cab bike. And again, but now in this example, the underboard, besides it has really poor safety measures because of its wheelbase, axle to axle, from one axle wheel, the front to the rear wheel axle. It is short. The length is short as a bike. I'm here and speaking to you. You will understand. I was in my daily company. I was working for a laboratory that we did. We were analyzing, your bloods, and I was going back from a delivery, a checkpoint, and I was waiting on my alley that would cross an intersection, not an intersection, a road, the main road. And I was with a red light. The light turned into green for me. I would pass. Already an experienced biker with equipment. Imagine that I was the only one in summer season that I was wearing a long sleeve shirt with UV protection and with fibers that would be structural, not to tear up in nearly accident or if they scratched in the surface of the of the pavement, with gloves, always with helmet, and I was wearing also full face. maybe maybe the only one example in my line of job in season in summer season we are talking about geared up, checking that there is no one in the red light and crossing. Suddenly, as I was crossing with green, the others had red, I saw with the rear of my eye a black thing accelerating like a bullet towards me. I slightly pushed the throttle and she passed me for millimeters, not inches, millimeters. She passed me so close that I felt my rear of the bike rambling, tail sliding like that. He didn't touch me. It was from the air, the speed that the ongoing car passed me. He braked instantly. He was a black sub. I think it was a 3-liter turbo. An old car. The man was the Reaper. The death itself. He has gone out to reap souls. The only thing that I remember telling him is, don't tell a word. I, I will overthrow you with my bike. Get out of here now. I was living by a chance. And why I'm saying that? If I was on my bike or that day I was not on the company's bike, we were using NMAX 155 scooters, CC, because the carter of the bike had damage because of the bumps and the holes all over the roads. The, the carter of the bike had a damage because it hit a bump or a hole. I don't remember. And I have taken my own other bone cab, a Daytona DY 125cc, and because of its small wheelbase, small length, I survived the heat. If I had the scooter or even my bike that they have longer wheelbase, he would have hit me from behind. I would have been melted. Would have been uh, uh, riding cycles with a bike, with a scooter, crashing into the pavement. And why I'm telling you that? I survived. These guys happens and happened to all of us here in Greece. I don't know if it happens to your country, mention it. This is the mentality of drivers in Greece and especially in Athens. Driving like hell with red light, passing the red light. Imagine how fast he was going. That I have already, he was seeing the red light and he couldn't see me. He couldn't see me. I was just a spot in his view. Imagine how fast he was going. Okay, why I'm saying that? After that incident, that I nearly lost my life, I've stopped literally chasing the deliveries in my line of work, where generally in a 9-hour shift, a delivery boy, a guy on delivering packages must be around 10 deliveries, 12 deliveries, maximum 15. I won't speak on behalf of my companies. I will generally speak for the line of this work. They demand you from 70 deliveries addresses and top 24, I've heard 24 to 35. I have recently searching by developing some in the net okay, sorry, I'm blocked. Έκανα ραντεβού, I made ραντεβούς για δουλειά, for jobs. And they were telling me that you would take the car or the bike and you will do 24 to 50 stops. And I was like, what? 24 to 50 stops. Other people also do it. What do you mean other people also do it? I've heard that they are going overloading their trucks 2 times, 3 times up for getting done their jobs and the schedule they have. Not only for bikers, but also for men who works with trucks. A completely crazy environment. I don't know what happens to your country. I'm talking about the reality in Athens and in Greece. And of course, in my other job as a delivery guy in the night in a pizzeria, that the common thing was you end up your shift in 11:30, in 12, in 12:30. The logical thing is to be a 15 minutes earlier with the cashier to to take handle the registry of the money of your receipts. Okay, no, here in Greece, in the end of your shift, you go the last order. And when you finish the last order, you go back after the hour of your shift to handle over the money you've gathered from the orders. This is Greece. This is the mentality around the professional bikers using their two-wheel vehicles in Greece. And from these examples, one guy in early years died because his shift has ended but was delivering an order. And of course, nothing happened because his employer said, "We are really sorry for his family. He was really kind person. We are really felt sorry for him." And in the court said, "We don't know anything. He was out of his shift." And imagine the cruelty and the reality and the madness in the Athens roads that that uh, outside our parliament, yes, outside our parliament, a driver that they haven't yet tell us, was he a police officer or he was an idiot? He was a personal guard of uh, of our parliament, a car of our parliament with a driver. I think he was an officer. Yes, and inside the car, it they haven't yet acknowledged to us, to the public, if inside the car it it existed a person, and they haven't told us if he was a man or a woman, from which party he or she was. Huh? Okay, so a politician with his car and the public officer as a driver went over the road, the exact the other lines. Okay, this is a straight. You are going like that. Here is the parliament. Okay, what he did, he crossed the road without light, without an officer stopping the traffic, without anything, and the guy with a bike crashed onto them. He died. Of course, nothing happened. We don't even know who was driving, if he was an officer, which politician was the car, who was inside the car, which politician from which party. We don't know because here is Greece. And nothing happened in courts because the rider was above average the limits of the of speeding limits. So the guy that illegally crossed the other traffic stream, okay, it's not his fault that didn't wait. Normally, a police officer of the traffic law went in front of the parliament, stops the opposite traffic stream, okay, and the car crosses. We do whatever we want. We kill a fellow riding citizen. It's not our blame. You will never learn who we are. It's your fault because you were above speeding limits. How we know that? By the traces of the tire. And this is the mentality, and we broadcast from Greece. So, if you are watching us from another country, please mention me. What would happen in your country? Ah, okay. What happened to me? from all this incident that I talked, what happened to me? I stopped this line of job. My life is too precious. The only job that I know that people risk their lives driving is in MotoGP, in Grand Prix, in Formula One, and they pay accordingly. And of course, with the right measures, safety measures, and with the right gear on their body. I know it's really difficult out there. You have to have an income, but it's really, really annoying with the mentality that exists in the roads of Greece, how daily users are taking up all this, I don't know what. This isn't just an accident story anymore. It's a mission statement, transitioning from look at what happened to me to this is why this channel exists. Turns your personal survival into a community cause. Okay? It gives you, and we are all together, a reason to support each other. So please subscribe, mention, reroute this program, this live program, and the illusion of the green light. I went into the intersection with green light. I checked if in the opposite side with the red light that I would pass exists someone. There was no one, and imagine how fast he was going that I couldn't see him. I only saw him when I was in the middle of my way crossing the road. It's a vital lesson for riders everywhere, and especially in Greece. And green light does not mean safe, it only means legal. What we said, legal. What happened in Parliament? Your habit of keeping your head on a swivel and relying on instant throttle response to escape a collision is what will save your life, as did mine. And of course, what we say, defensive riding versus the corporate pressure. Okay, delivery and courier workers are under massive pressure to break traffic laws to meet unrealistic quotas, demanding 24 drops instead of a safe from 10 to 12, I would say. Let's say 12 to 15. Standing up for your safety by reducing to speed limit and below that will not get you fired. We are here to contribute to your safety. This is why this channel, besides all the rest, exists. And of course, lack of accountability. We set the example. This is a phenomenal, hard-hitting way as a rider. Do you understand our content today? Ready for more? Do you understand why I wanted to do this live in English and not only in Greek as yesterday? I hope in future lives to be more relaxed with our pet surviving what had happened to him, with more hours of sleep, and not talking about these sad things that shaped us like riders from our souls, from our faults, our flesh, our bruises, our dislocation, our compressions of neck and spines. We are still here. Some of us had worse, the same things like us, but worse results. So be aware and learn what we are talking about. Before we calming down and end our live, we were talking about the parking lot. So whichever bike you own or you will own, what we do first, we keep riding in the traffic daily to learn how to handle its way, okay, to see all the rubbish, all the faults of the cars. They don't turn up the turn lights. They always, most of them, stop with no feeling, with no looking at the mirrors. So we say always slightly left or right from the vehicles. We never stop in front of a traffic light in the middle of our lane. We always check our mirrors to see what happens behind us. So, besides the daily use of our bike, which is essentially, if you are a casual driver only for a weekend and for a ride, maybe you are an experienced driver. That's why. But if you are a starter, you want to grow up your experience, you cannot grow up your experience just with a weekend drive away to a spot for a relaxed drive up to the hills or turns or S curves. You must have a daily use of your bike in slow speeds, in daily traffic. And of course, in parking lot, as I said, in straight lines for stability, in slow motion, in slow rolling state of your bike with no gear, just handling it from the lever clutch. That's why I am in favor of manual bikes, because we learned to drive with lever clutch. Okay, with the clutch. We learn to control our bike with the clutch and with gears, with upshifting, with downshifting, with controlling the distance of engaging brakes with downshifting and engine brakes. Learn to use your engine brake. And when you do all this, start doing, okay, the aids, okay, the casual aids, bigger in the beginning with bigger distance, and always narrow it, narrow it, narrow it, narrow it, and then add another and add another. It depends on the parking lot that you will find. Okay, and the time that you will be able to do that. If there are a lot of cars there, if they will let you do it. At least in Greece, we have this. We have parking lots. We have areas that we can test and learn how to control our bike. And of course, besides the aids, uh, and after you learn how to accelerate your bike and stop, accelerate your bike and stop, and even harder with panic brakes, then the next lesson you will have to do is accelerate, stop, and do a trail slide, a trail braking, avoiding an obstacle. Avoiding an obstacle. As I did with a dear friend of mine, I was too up in the bike, going back to our home, and from an alley, a car, a tow car, blocked blocked our road. I instantly trailed. I went like that and left. I was an experienced biker by that time, but you don't have to learn my experience with my faults and with my hits, with my joints compressed and literally dislocated, and you may go to a parking lot and learn for yourself. Learn from these structural videos from our channel or from other channels. YouTube essentially is full loaded with videos for safety measures. To lighten it up, I have my last example. In a cold day, at Sunday morning, in my previous work, 5 a.m., I was exiting my parking lot on my 1996 Honda XRV 750 Africa Twin. And as I rolled backward down the angle of the parking ramp, I kept the bike in neutral, revving slightly the engine to let it warm up. I clicked it into first gear, turned the handlebars to go away, and all the way to the lock to make my turn and let out the clutch. Not as I should. The engine stalled because the handlebars were turned completely to the side. The sudden loss of forward momentum caused the heavy, top-heavy Africa Twin to tip over instantly. 220 kilos. The CRF I tested is 253. I backstab a little bit, fell down, nothing seriously. Once I was down on the asphalt and realized I couldn't lift the massive weight of the bike back up on that angle by myself, I immediately called my colleagues. The shift change at my job was at 6 o'clock in the morning, so I informed them that I was going to stall them and be a little bit late because of the drop. While looking around for someone to help me, I spotted the local neighbor out of the corner of my eye. He's a very quiet, deeply religious fellow, and I know that because I constantly saw him at the exact Orthodox church during the Saturday liturgy, because my family and I have been going there regularly for my late grandfather's funeral, as well as for his 3-month, 9th month, and yearly memorial services, meaning Mosno, we call it. And I always seen him there, and I always constantly seen him crossing the path of my house. So he's living somewhere around this area. He's in my neighborhood. So He was all dressed up and then walking down the street, heading right to the early morning service of the church. I smiled to myself, thinking, great, I see this guy all the time at the church. He's a Christian. He is heading to praise God. He will definitely help a fellow neighbor out. I tried to explain what happened and point to my heavy bike laid out on the pavement. Do you know what he did? He bypassed me like I wasn't even there. He walked right past me, literally a foot away, and kept walking down to the church without saying a single word or offering a hand. I got a few feet away, completely stunned, and just then another citizen drove up, a guy who was just coming back from a long night out at the Bouzoukia, our traditional Greek live music clubs. And he was clearly coming back from a wild night of fun. I rushed over to his car, and the moment he saw the situation, he started laughing, jumped out. He even mentioned that he had the bike and already happened to him, something like that. And he instead helped me to lift up the bike. Let's see. The massive way of Africa Twin of XRV 750. So, why do I say that? You expect help from the person practicing a religion, and it comes from the guy rolling home from the clubs at dawn. That, gentlemen, is the true contrast of our society. I don't know about your society, about our society. So, what we are learning from this incident, let's go this joke. True, but a little bit of joke of what happened afterwards. The steering lock, okay, the pivot point. When a motorcycle's handlebar are turned all the way to the steering lock, the bike's balance becomes incredibly fragile. If the bike is moving, the centrifugal force keeps it up. But if the engine stalls and your forward momentum drops to zero while the wheel is turned, gravity wins instantly. The bike will drop like a stone toward the side the wheel is pointed. The massive weight of adventure, a 1996 XRV 750 Africa Twin, is legendary. Bulletproof machine, but it is also top heavy and weighs around 20 kilos, 220 kilos and above. Nowadays, it's a common way. Most of the big adventure bikes weighs from 220 kilos and above. So, when that much weight gets past a certain angle or of tilt, the point of no return comes. It is physically impossible to hold up with your leg and strength alone. At least for me, there is a way, but with all these accidents, as I mentioned you, I can't. So it's a time and a moment for gold teaching for you. When performing tight full lock turns at low speeds, never rely on just the clutch and throttle alone. You must slightly drag the rear brake, riding the clutch zone to create constant tension in the drivetrain. And what I said to you, you learn this in a parking lot with aids, with driving with the clutch, with braking, with front, rear. So, this stabilizing force keeps the chassis upright and prevents a sudden engine stall. from throwing you onto the pavement. Now, an example that hasn't happened to us, but everyone talks in Greece among the motorcyclist community. A classic trap on Greek roads, pedestrian crossings, and painted lane dividers. In most European countries, road paint is mixed with anti-slip glass beads, so tires can actually grip. It. In Greece, the paint they use turns into pure ice the second it gets wet, or even just from the morning humidity. Even in Attica Road, people mentioned that in early morning, in areas with high humidity, they had crashes touching the painted lines on the tartan, on the asphalt. And imagine that Attica Road has one of the most quality asphalt road in Greece. Whenever you pay tolls, you will find good quality of road. In most cases, you should not be certain of that, and you will understand why I'm saying that. In the next example that also happened to us, that as we mentioned, the asphalt quality in Attica is a joke, but nothing highlights the lack of accountability like the ghost pothole. I'm talking about municipal or utility companies that dig up a trench across a main road to lay down fiber optic cables or water pipes and then leave it completely unmarked, or fill it with cheap loose gravel that sinks after 3 days. So be always aware. Never ride in the dead center of the vehicle ahead of you, as we said before. Lane position yourself to the left or right side. Okay. In the tire tracks of the car ahead. This allows you to look through and past of the car to spot sudden road craters before they are right under your wheel. Experience like that. This is what happened to me. Another classic example. When I was riding across over a long deep groove running parallel down the road, it looked like a construction crew had cut open the street to lay cables or pipes, and way they refilled it with asphalt, they did such a terrible job that it left a deep, uneven line, almost like a mini riverbed carved into the lane. Like a mini riverbed, sorry for my accent, like a mini riverbed carved into the lane. My front tire dropped right into that lower surface because the groove was deeper than the rest of the road and ran parallel to my direction of travel. It completely trapped my wheel. The bike tracked hard into the groove. The handlebars violently wrenched out of my hands, and I went down instantly. I was just riding along normally, and the poorly finished patch job literally stole the bike from underneath my feet. So, when I rode, what do we learn and what we must do in certain occasions like that? The danger of parallel ruts and dead straps. When a road defect runs parallel to your path like a street car track, a seam between two lanes, or a poorly filled trench, it poses a massive threat. If your tire drops into it or tries to climb the lip at a shallow angle, the asphalt will grab the tire, as in my example did, and steer the bike for you, usually causing a crash, as I had. How to handle it? If you cannot avoid crossing a parallel ridge, rut, or seam, never try to glide over it smoothly at a parallel angle. You must deliberately lean or steer the bike to cross it at as sharp an angle as possible, ideally close up to a 45 or to 90 angle. So the tire rolls over the edge instead of getting trapped by it. Okay. Another classic infrastructure in the nightmare happened when I was riding. Right, right. What we said, parallel routes, streetcar tracks, or second seams are incredibly dangerous because what they do, they tram line your front tire, taking away your steer. What we do, we deliberately try to cross them in a 45 or 90 degrees angle. Okay. What it also happened to me, I crossed over a crater. I was running on the national road, traveling at a high speed. I was cruising in the right hand, slow lane for us in Europe, besides Britain. Uh, they they are driving on the left side of the road. We are driving on the right side of the road. So I was cruising on the right hand slow lane when I suddenly had to speed up instantly to match traffic flow. Right at that second, I slammed into a massive pothole. It was wide enough and deep enough to swallow my front tire whole, sending a violent shockwave right up my spine. By some absolute miracle, because I opened instantly my throttle to show the bike went over it with as much speed as possible and not braking. I managed to hold on to the handlebars and didn't crash. From that day on, I learned that, and a vital lesson for you, the design of the roads. The sides at the highway, especially the right, slow lane of the Greek National Road, have the absolute worst structural damage. Why? Because of heavy vehicles and the professional drivers. Fully loaded semi trucks, commercial rigs, and transport buses weigh tons. Okay, and they are forced to drive in that right lane or middle lane, day in and day out, completely crashing the infrastructure. So, in Greece, middle lane, right lane, even if you pay tolls in national roads, be aware and never depend of what you're seeing. I was already an experienced rider and I couldn't see because of the traffic the pothole. I couldn't see and I have trained myself to see, to see in front 10, 20, 100 meters. Beginners, as we said, often think the right lane, the slow lane, is the fastest because it's the slow lane for a motorcycle. So be aware. Now, a critical lesson that has to do with animals also. I was riding down the highway at high speed when a cat suddenly darted right across the road directly in front of me. Out of pure survival reflex, I violently swerved the bike to avoid hitting it. That is that aggressive steering. Input at high speed completely upset the chassis. The front wheel lost its tracking, and the handlebars started violently whipping back and forth from lock to lock. A brutal, terrifying tank slapper. Okay, the bike completely slapped me off, losing all control of the motorcycle, and I went down hard on the asphalt. You trying to do the right thing in a split of a second, and the physics of the motorcycle turn against you instantly. It's common knowledge, but we have to address it to you if you are an early comer to the motorcyclist world. When you make an extremely violent sudden steering input at high speeds, or if the front tire lifts and lands slightly crooked, it disrupts the bike's alignment, and the front wheel tries to self correct, but it overcompensates, creating a violent oscillating shake, head shake, tongue slapper, as we call it, that can easily throw a rider off. I was full geared. It didn't anything happen to me. Of course, I had bruises. Of course. And the hard truth about small animals. This one is the toughest lesson in motorcycling. At highway speeds, swerving violently for a small animal is incredibly dangerous. The sudden swerve poses a much higher risk of a fatal crash or tongue slapper than hitting the animal itself. If you cannot safely slow down in a straight line, your instinct has to be to brace your body, grip the tank with your knees, keep the bike straight, and ride through it. We are talking about small animals. Okay, we are not talking about deers, bears, pigs, wild pigs, etc., etc. In this occasion, you must know, as we said in a parking lot, know how to decelerate your bike with emergency brakes and put an imaginary obstacle, trail braking, and avoid this obstacle to learn your bike. And of course, this is a great opportunity, okay, to explain the steering damper that most bikes have, or the one that doesn't have. I should recommend you to put one. Most of these accidents, it happened, even the first one that I dislocated my shoulder. If there was a steering damper, it would not have happened. Is a hydraulic device that absorbs these sudden violent oscillations. So if you ride high performance or sensitive bikes at highway speeds or high speeds. A steering damper can literally save your life by stopping a tank slapper before it throws you off. Most modern bikes have it as already installed by factory equipment. So, what you are looking here isn't just a random list of injuries or a collection of scars. This is the ultimate battle map of a man who has eaten the asphalt raw, paid his dues to the street, and bought his survival with his own flesh, his own bones, and his own spine. UMBANDÉ fraternal sorrow throughout the globe. So, gentlemen, we have laid it all out. Today, we have mentioned into our previous live that it's already with subs for you in English and other languages. From the surgeries, the dislocated shoulders, the compressed spines, the infrastructure traps, the highway craters, the corrupt corporate systems that don't care if we make it home or not. You have seen the raw, unfiltered reality of what it takes to survive on the streets of Greece. Let me know what happens in the streets of your country. And now I want to pass the microphone to you. I want every single person, everyone is watching this live or replay, leave a comment, subscribe, and inform me what is your experience, what you heard, and what goes on your countries. And let's take a look. Let's take at this system. Let's take a look at these roads. Let's take a look at what we've said already. What would you think? No way I'm getting inside a steel box. It's not worth my life. Hmm? Or no way. It's not worth my life of what I've heard. I will get into a steel box. Or do you feel like me, the same fire I have till now, after all these cars, despite the crashes, and despite the absolute madness, that I refuse to let them take my freedom away? Do you refuse to take your freedom away and riding your bike? If you choose to keep riding, whatever you ride, then your responsibility is to ride smart with safety and most gear protective you can. Use the technical lessons we broke down today. Protect your neck, watch the parallel trenches, beware of the slow lane, and never assume a green light means you're safe. If you want to see your roads cleaner, if you want a rider safety to actually mean something, and if you want to support real raw awareness, please comment and subscribe. Share this live stream to be a community that, with my descriptions, with my faults, with my experience, and with your own also, we will have a more louder voice to the people that now entering the motorcyclist community and learn from what we have experienced. Thank dear fellow neighbor coming in the morning from the Buzuka, lifting up my Africa Twin, saying on the hypocrites and dangerous peoples riding daily the routes with us on the roads. And thanks, a big thank you to all you that already subscribed and watching our videos to our channel. Keep your eyes open, keep your head on a swivel, and stay safe out there on the asphalt. Okay, thank you a lot for your comments. So till the next live and the next video we will have in this Friday, showing you some more crazy things that happened to us returning from Villa to Elefsina to eat our kebab in Ita Vita. Stay put and show it. That's why we posted this video. UMBANDÉ, Frater and Sorrow throughout the globe. Thank you again for another live, for your company. UMBANDÉ. UMBANDÉ to all.